Hi, my name is Stephanie Whitty, and this is my final assignment for AEP 855. The articles that I researched when I set out looking for articles, I wanted to focus on ELL learners, which is English language learners. I'm getting my master's in education with an emphasis in ESOL, and so I wanted to look for articles or topics that had to do with ELL students. The first three articles that I found were all from Education Week. The first one was an online chat, which was accompanied by an article that had to do with the chat. It was put on by Education Week, and the chat and article both dealt with the ELL population and technology. The second article I found, which was also from Education Week, dealt with technology-based interactive learning for ELLs. The third article that I found was an article about a professional development opportunity that was used in a California school. This opportunity allowed teachers and administrators to shadow an ELL student to several different classes, and this sparked a wake-up call that ended up closing the achievement gap between ELLs and the general population. The fourth article I found, which was also from Education Week, was an article on the disproportionality of African Americans and Hispanics in special education programs. This one didn't necessarily have to do with ELL students, but I came across it on accident, and this has always been an interest of mine, how various populations are misrepresented in special education. And the Ed article was my last article, and it addressed advanced ESL students and the use of television to enhance their learning. The first article, which was supporting English language learners with technology, was the online chat, which was moderated by Katie Ash. The guest speakers were Karen Nemeth, who's the founder and lead consultant of Language Castle, and Lori Langer de Ramirez, which is the director of World and Classical Languages and Global Language Initiatives at the Dalton School. My summary of this article: the guests were allowed to ask questions that regarded ELLs and technology. In today's schools and society, technology is such a huge demand, and students are almost forced to learn it in order to be successful. And ELLs, unfortunately, are highly underrepresented in the virtual world. There's many options that were shared on how to include ELLs in the technology classroom, and several websites that were shared to enhance their online learning. And finally, the challenges that administration faces. Administration must play a key factor in making technology happen, and this article listed a few ways that the administration must help with the technology. The websites to enhance the classroom: the first website was languagecastle.com, which is Karen Nemeth's website, and this website shares many resources for supporting ELLs with technology. There's miscositas.com, which is a website by Lori Langer de Ramirez, who's the other guest speaker, and this website offers virtual picture books, thematic units, and other curricular material for ELL students. And then there were several bilingual storybook apps and websites, such as analomba.com, there's tumblebooks.com, and mamalisa.com. Some other websites that can be used for ELL students as well as general ed students is Voki.com, which allows students to record their voice and choose a cartoon character to represent them. This one is really good at getting ELL students to not be so afraid to talk, because they get to disguise their voice a little bit. There's Glockster.com, which allows students to create a poster with voice recordings, images, and additional enhancements that they can make to their posters. And there's also WordRater.com, which is a vocabulary game that allows students to work at a more in-depth level, but it's targeted at their own pace. Some challenges for administration: first, they must learn about the technology themselves and model the confidence and appropriate use of the technology. They must arrange sufficient PD time for their staff, because there's no point in having the technology if no one knows how to use it. The administration must provide sufficient resources. There's expensive devices, but no money for the software or the apps. It goes a waste of time. and they must develop a protocol for appropriate use of the web tools. This could include a privacy statement, appropriate use. For example, they need to decide if the students' names will be allowed to be on the internet, if photos will be allowed, etc., to protect their student privacy. My next article was Interactivity Seen as Key. This article focused on implementing technology with English language learners. The article said that teachers should focus on seeking out technology that encourages interactive learning by ELLs and not worry about whether or not the technology is designed for them specifically. And this is where a lot of ELLs get underrepresented, is because the teachers are looking for specific software that targets ELLs, and they shouldn't spend so much time looking for that technology as just letting the student get on there and practice and learn. Software programs that are designed specifically for the ELLs are barely more than a glorified worksheet. They don't allow the students a chance to practice their English. The teacher should allow opportunities to practice communicating, and this is where the various websites come into key. The middle and high school students could do computer chat sessions, which is an exciting way for students to get out there and get on the practicing their English without necessarily realizing they're practicing it. Technology should support the content-based instruction and not replace the teacher instruction. It's very important that the teacher stays involved and doesn't let the technology take over completely. Kids adore technology. The newer the technology, the better, and an ELL student is no different. They're going to be excited about getting on there and doing the chat, or getting on there and doing the activity, and not focus so much on being afraid of talking as just getting on there and practicing on the computer. The article stated that the biggest obstacle when it came to technology in schools was that they don't have enough money or personnel to maintain it. This ties back to the first article that had technology, that stated that technology is pointless if the staff does not know how to use it. If there's not enough money to maintain it, there's not the PD training, then it's pointless to have the technology. The ELL technology tips. Technology-enhanced programs for language learners work most effectively when they first provide interaction, communicative activities, and real audience. They utilize a task-based and problem-solving activities. They provide sheltering techniques or ways to make lessons easier to understand and support language and academic development. When they're student-centered and promote a student autonomy. When they facilitate focused development of English language skills, when they support collaborative learning, and when they foster understanding and appreciation of the target and native cultures, and finally when they provide appropriate feedback and assessment. The ELL shadowing shows promise. This is my third article. A California school has successfully closed the achievement gap for ELL students. The school offered a professional development opportunity that allowed teachers to, as well as administration, the opportunity to go and shadow an ELL student to several different classes. Neither the student or the teacher of the class know that the real reason that the observer is there. This allows the observer the chance to observe a true representation of the ELL's participation or lack thereof in a class. And the observer sits in the back of the room and specifically watches the student's use of academic language. The observer takes notes at 5-minute intervals over the student's actions regarding listening and speaking. The first thing that most educators noticed was that the ELLs will sit silently during class and not participate. The student is not given many opportunities to work on their oral language. It's easy for them to just kind of sit back and do nothing. And the research shows that ELLs spend less than 2% of the school day improving their academic oral language. The California school that provided this opportunity has 85% of students that receive free or reduced lunch. The school was considered a high-achieving school before it conducted the opportunity. ELLs make up nearly half of the student population. The ELLs did well on their grade level academic language standards, but did not do well on the language proficiency. The principal was concerned about a lingering achievement gap between the ELL students and the English-only students, and this is why they originally conducted the PD opportunity for teachers. The teachers were not using enough academic language in class. They found that the teachers commented that the shadowing opportunity was a real eye-opener. They noticed things that they didn't necessarily notice in their own class. They didn't realize that the kids weren't talking, and lacked the confidence until they sat back and just observed. How did they fix the gap? They used 3 concrete instructional strategies that fostered academic oral language development. They did think, pair, share activities, reciprocal teaching, the Freyer model of using pictures and context to teach the vocabulary. All of these strategies encourage the students to converse with and learn from their peers. Many of the educators contended that this type of teaching benefited all learners, not just those in the special education. The article explained that all learners do benefit from this type of teaching, but the consequences of not using these strategies is more devastating for the ELL students than it is for the English-speaking students. So although both sets of students benefit from this type of learning, it's more damaging for an ELL student than a non-ELL student. Once the teachers and the school started focusing on their language development, their benchmark test scores improved immediately, and they saw increases on their state tests. My next article was ESL learners and television. Many ESL students study English by using textbooks, tapes, and taking ESL classes. Another tool for learning English is the TV, and the TV can be a great resource for someone learning English. TV is fun to watch and can benefit those that are trying to learn English. There's so many different situations and types of programs that are offered on the TV, and the way that it's supposed to improve your English is to watch 1 hour of television a day. Each day you choose a different program to watch. It could be a drama one day, a scientific show the next day, and you sit for the first 30 minutes with a notebook and a pen. In those first 30 minutes, you jot down any words or phrases you do not know. You don't worry about the meaning, you just jot down everything that comes up that you don't know. The last 30 minutes, you just sit and relax and watch the show. You don't worry about the words that you don't know or the meanings that you don't know. You're looking for the overall meaning of the show. You watch facial expressions and the words that you know to pick up on the overall meaning. After the hour is up, you look up any words or phrases that you did not know. The article compares this ESL learners to the children that are first learning English. When a kid sits and listens to their parents when they're young and they're barely speaking, they don't necessarily know every word that their parent is saying, but by watching their parents and listening to what they do know and watching the interaction, facial expressions of their parents, the students can pick up on, or the children can pick up on the overall meaning of what's being said by their parents. I found that all of my articles were interesting, and I felt that I'll be able to use at least part of each one in my real life. I plan on working with ESL students in the near future and knowing some technology that is useful for the ESL students, as well as being familiar with the way the California school closed the learning gap in their district, will be helpful to me down the road as I begin my journey with these students. And this is my references that I used for my 5 articles. Thank you.